can I ask you then, how did you go into naval diving, and what is actually naval diving?
Yeah, I think MINDEF realized that bomb disposal is on the surface.
Mm.
So during post-war, we already recover a lot of war relics. Then, of course, the unit is still relevant because in case of terrorism attack with IED, improvised explosive devices, or full-scale war, there are unexploded bombs. Naval diving came about when we realized that the British also laid sea mines at Labrador
Mm.
because they want to protect the harbor. Keppel Harbor was their crown jewel,
Mm.
and because of that, they protect Singapore actually, Keppel Harbor. So they have sea mines. So I was based at Fort Siloso, Blakang Mati, and Labrador is across. So we came across some remnant of the sea mines, you know, floating sea mines. So obviously, the only people could do with it are the naval divers with clearance diving certification. At that point in time, there was a small setup in Sembawang Naval Diving Unit.
Mm.
That was the precursor to the precursor was the British Far East Naval Diving Fleet. You know, so they have a clearance diving team there. They lot a lot of equipment there, and naval officers were taking care of it, but they were not a full scale naval diving unit yet because they don't have trained mine clearance diving officer. So Minda felt could send some officers to undergo this mine clearance. But the prerequisite of the course in UK is officers must be trained in explosive, you know, and none of the naval officers got the explosive training. So they picked us to go for the year long, almost a year course in mine clearance diving. So it's important because you learn all kind of mines, not only Japanese or British, but also Germans and worldwide. So we equipped with it knowledge and also operation of the diving unit, the decompression chamber, which is a must in any naval diving unit. So we can operate those with therapeutic, gases and all that. So we came back, we started the naval diving unit. Yeah, so it's because of the prerequisite that you must be explosive trained.
Mm.
So we become the forerunners. And of course, later on, the Navy officers went for the course with full qualification in explosive, some trained by us.
I see. So it's kind of an extension of your bomb disposal work, lah.
Yeah, it was an
Mm.
extension. Yeah,
Mm.
so we set up when we came back in Siloso.
Mm.
We bought some equipment and we started small team. And then when we take over the naval diving unit, some of the team members seconded to, you know, the HMS Terror, Far East Naval Diving Unit. The
Yeah.
British left in about 1971, 72.
The naval diving would be a lot harder, right? I mean, working with the sea mines a lot harder because you're underwater compared to bomb disposal. Would you say that?
Yeah, it is very much harder
Mm.
because even the aptitude test, it demand a lot out of individual who have not, been into the water. So
Yeah.
we actually blindfold them, put them into the water, you know,
Wow.
and then like simulate things around them, like throwing seaweed, or touching them. So it's an aptitude test, lah, that you will not be suffering from claustrophobia or things like that, and then you
Mm.
react calmly. So a lot, lah, like physical tests,
Mm.
running, climbing ropes, you know. We call it a mud run, it's figure of eight. So you run in a figure of eight, climb on the jetty, swim, come onto the land, and then run on the mud, and then again climb up the jetty with the ropes and all that. So this
Mm.
take a lot of effort, and not many people succeed,
Mm.
lah.
Mm. Mm. How about you, Winston? What's your relationship with water?
No, I'm okay with water because we enjoy diving. Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, the most important is able to stay calm in the water lah. Whatever happened, yeah. Which I had some incidents, then. So with the presence of mind and then the reaction, you can resolve the situation. You panic, everything goes.
yeah. So when you say naval diving, do you mean actually diving to the water, the seabed?
Yeah, it could be under the seabed or walking under
Uh,
the ship.
right.
It could be, very deep dive. So different equipment are used. Lah. So normally for mines, we use a closed circuit diving set. That means
Mm,
no bubble, non-magnetic, because some mines will explode with bubbles, acoustic.
wow.
And if there's a magnetic field around, so different equipment. And then for prolonged diving, we have surface demand. That means you don't carry your cylinders. The air is supplied from the top. It's like
Ah,
those
okay.
helmet diving, but we don't use a helmet anymore. Lah. It's cumbersome. So we have special, contraption that make the air flow, you know,
I see.
smoothly to your lung.
Were you able to discover most of these mines?
Recover, sorry.
Yeah, recover most of these mines. I mean, there must be
No, lah,
thousands,
we
right? Was
don't
there
find
thousands?
very many
Uh,
because the fact that the British carry out a withdrawal, from Singapore, so they would have cleaned up a lot of places. They did, lah. Yeah.
mm,
So whatever remnant, so it's not like you know
mm,
congested with all this.
I see.
Yeah, but it's very important that now if they find any, we could be prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, what was the risk, right? I mean, because most of the vessels that come to the port will not probably not hit the mines, right?
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
because when the Keppel Harbor was open again,
Mm,
after the war,
mm.
it was already make safe. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Got
because
it.
as you know, the Keppel Harbor was our lifeline, lah. Because interport trade, so the harbor is bringing the most revenue, lah, and
Yeah.
also livelihood. So
Mm.
that's why a lot of effort was used to concentrate in cleaning up the harbor.
Were there any sea mines or other kinds of mines laid around the naval base?
No, no. So far,
Mm.
depends on the war relics report. Nobody
Yeah.
reported any sighting of all this. Yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay.
most of the discovery is by sighting by seafarer or whoever walk the land.
Yeah, so I've mostly finished the bomb disposal and naval diving. I just want to ask you about the two big accidents, right, and tragedies of our history. The first being Spyros in 1978, right? So I was quite interested that you were involved in the post-blast investigation. Can you tell
Yes,
us
yes.
how that came about?
Yeah, that was I was activated. That there
Mm,
was an explosion. They call it industrial explosion
yeah.
near Sembawang shipyard. And involving a Greek, vessel
Mm,
named Spyros. So I rushed to the scene, and it was still smoking when I arrived. And some of the casualties or even fatalities were evacuated. You know, and I immediately have to go down because my mission was again is post blast investigation
mm.
to establish whether there was a sabotage by explosive. You know, because nobody know what happened. Just an explosion. It's a very fierce explosion which killed quite a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went in, yeah, without any assistance because a lot of people like police officer reluctant to go down,
Mm,
because I asked the OC of the division Jurong. I said, you want to accompany me down because whatever evidence and things like that we can, substantiate together. He said, no, no, no. The reason you don't want to go down, he said, this is not under me. It's in Jurong, I said. He said, no, the ship is both in the water. It's also in marine. So I said, okay, is that the case? So be it. So I went down
yeah.
in darkness, with torch and all that, because all the power was gone. So it was very sad because it was needed in oil, engine oil. So I went in and basic collect evidence of explosive lah. Get tracers to go back to the lab. Because that time we still have the forensic science people doing it. I have to take sample for them. So did a lot and still see a bit of bodies. Because it was so violent that some was stuck onto the engine. You know room, the other wall, facing the oil storage area. So um, so that was my role lah. I took samples and then sent it to the forensic and they established it wasn't explosive lah. It is trouble with some welding and then gas, that caused the explosion. Then of course, to conclude the case in coroner's court, I have to testify that the cause of the explosion is not through sabotage by explosive. There's no trace of explosive random, you know. Yeah.
So it was
So
quite clear, lah. Right.
it was quite clear case lah.
Mm.
Actually, the other case which was the, there's an aircraft that land in our air base.
Yeah.
I think it was a DC-3. This aircraft was hijacked by the refugees who tried to escape Vietnam, and somehow they were going to Thailand, but on the way they hijacked it under uh, threat of weapons and all that. In fact, they killed the co-pilot or something like that. His body was lying on the aisles of the plane, so he landed at Tengah.
Oh.
He
Yeah.
landed at Tengah because they want to come to Singapore. So we mounted an operation, cordon off the aircraft, and then the ministry of us was concerned. They sent, very senior officers down to decide what to do with the aircraft because they want to negotiate. So I was there because it's an incident which could involve explosive because they actually mentioned they have explosive on board. So after a while, negotiation was they will release the passengers, the refugees. So that's what they did, and then they mentioned they have explosive on board. So I was sent onto the plane to look because they didn't take everything out. They take what is important for them. There are a lot of baggages and all that. So I had to do a search. So that's where I see the body of the pilot, on the house. So at the same time, it claimed that a lot of them carry gold bar because they intend to go to Bangkok, as yeah, as said. So I was worried that if I go in anything lost, they can accuse me because I'm only one in the aircraft, you know. So as such, I told the police that check me first that I don't carry anything, Then I went in, came out and report the situation, and of course I don't find any, evidence of explosive in package or bundles or whatever. So again, I asked them to check me before I leave that I don't carry any goba.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that time the norm is to they bring goba instead of other money or asset out. Yeah,
Okay.
so that's how that episode. It didn't end there because all the refugees were housed in Seletar camp.
Oh, okay.
Just now I said the airport is Seletar. Sorry, it's not Tengah.
Seletar. Okay. Okay.
Seletar, yeah. Seletar East Camp, the runway.
Where
So
where
they were
where were
housed.
the hijackers from?
They're from Vietnam.
Oh,
They're on a
Vietnamese.
flight to
Okay.
Bangkok for some reason. But the hijacker decided to come to Singapore.
Was this
And
linked to the
actually,
Vietnam War?
these refugees are not
Yeah.
running away from the country.
Ah.
They just transit into Bangkok, or
Okay.
maybe want to, bring their asset there. So what happened is all these refugees were housed in Seletar military camp overnight. We create new bed, new mattress, new room for them. So they're treated very well.
Hmm.
And the idea is next morning we'll get a pilot trained in DC-3 to fly, you know, to the destination. We don't want the plane. So next morning, all these people after breakfast, very good breakfast at Seletar military camp, they were so happy, rested and fed, that a lot of them don't want to go back. They will struggle. They want to stay in Singapore, become refugees. So there was enforcement now. The police came, riot squad came, bundle them, into the buses, bring them to the plane, and they got to force them into the plane. And then the pilot, because one was killed, so we had to get another pilot. So fortunately, in Seletar base, their commercial American company managed to locate one pilot who flew DC-3 before,
Hmm.
and he took on the job as a hero, and he could manage the plane and flew to the destination. I got a picture of the plane,
Hmm.
or
What
later
what
you want
what
to
year
see
was
the
this?
picture. This one was in,
Ah.
wait, let me check, because there are so many dates.
So this was during the Vietnam War, lah, right?
Yeah, subsequently, it's the 70s, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
The senior officer that commanded this was the time of his civil service, Sim Ki Boon, I think. Sim Ki
Okay.
Boon.
Okay.
So he decided, how to manage the incident. So overnight, everything was done. Next morning, try to fry them out as soon as possible. So very efficient, the way Singapore does things. No
Yeah.
big hoo-ha, no drama, or nothing. You know, and also we are ready to confront the, you know, refugees who reluctant to go back because they know the hardship in Vietnam. The time, as you said, Vietnam War was just ended. So
Okay.
there's a fear of the North coming down and all that. So there's a lot of boats and all that. Yeah. So
Hmm.
Singapore receive a lot, boat people as well.
Yes.
They have to
Yes.
house in Sembawang.
Mm.
So that was the moment. This was by plane. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
The boat people, in a way, we also get involved as bomb disposal
Okay.
because they bring, explosive and all that, as because there's no enforcement on how they board the boat and what they bring. So only when they reach Singapore. I can send you the actual picture, yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
this you can see,
Yes. Yes.
huh?
Yes. Yes.
Huh?
Can
No,
can can see. Yeah.
it's the plane.
No, to the plane and then the Spyros.
Okay. 77. Okay. Okay. So I want to ask you then about the Hotel New World collapse.
Yeah.
You were also involved in that.
I was seconded to civil defense and I was looking after the rescue battalion. It was a newly formed battalion, apart from looking after the central school, training civil defense officers at Nee. So when the disaster happened, we know it's a massive effort, lah. So it's very coincidental, what happened. And that day, we were having a work plan seminar at CSI, Civil Defense.
Hmm.
So at that time, I also was moving to my new house in Normanton Park, and I want to install a phone, the new phone. So I excused myself for a seminar at, like I said, 10 something, to go and make sure the installation take place, which is not far, Normanton Park to the Pasir Panjang. So immediately after the phone got installed, you know, I call my office because I'm on operational duty. Anything, call this new number. I give the number to the duty officer. he acknowledged. Then I get out of the house, lock the gate, and the phone rang, because I was on the way back to the seminar. So I went in and asked, what happened? Who are you? He said, I'm for duty officer for Nee Soon Camp. I said, why? He said, Hotel New World collapsed. Don't go back to the seminar, because they told him, or I called to tell them that I'm going back to a seminar. So you are required at the rescue site. So that's how I rushed down to Hotel New World, Serangoon Road, park my car there, in the middle of the road, because everything was congested. I continued the operation for almost a week lah. Yeah, to rescue people. We rescued quite a substantial number and all that. Yeah. So again, that was something which involved a lot of effort. A lot of manpower, a lot of equipment, and of course the mission was to rescue. So we managed to, on the surface, rescue quite a few, but then the challenge was those buried underground, in the debris. And at that time, we haven't developed shafting or, tunneling, which require you to go below the collapsed concrete and all that. So fortunately, we have the MRT tunneler in Singapore. They are mostly Irish and Scottish. So we contacted them to ask them for help, because they're the expert in tunneling. They are doing tunneling for MRT at that time. So they came, they were very efficient. They dug tunnels, put shaft, timber, and tunnels. So we went in and rescued substantial number. Yeah. So the success is hinged on to these tunnelers. But we provide always support they required lah, equipment, and we learn a lot from them lah. So that was the situation, and of course we were all rewarded with medals lah, because of the risk we took. Yeah. So it took 1 week lah. Yeah.
1 week. Okay.
I've
there were still survivors after 1 week that you are pulling out.
Yeah, some not 1 week later lah, but in the conclusion after 1 week, we rescue substantial number lah. I will show you the pictures and all that lah later.
Sure. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so my role was there lah. So exactly the coincidence I mentioned, that day the hotel collapse was my daughter's birthday, 15th of March. Also coincide with my brother, which is about, few generation ahead of her. Also 15th of March. Supposed to have party at, at my, I think, brother's house, in Marine Parade, in the evening lah. So obviously I can't go. I was at a disaster site. But they saw me on TV lah. I didn't have to call them and say that I'll be absent. So they realized the hotel will collapse. So the other coincidence is when they give the medal, public service medal for this rescue effort. It was on the 26th of April. And that was my birthday. Yeah, so it's a coincidence of birthdays. Yeah. Yeah, so there are a lot of things which can make stories out of book lah.
Yeah.
Because at civil defense, one of the soldiers doing in-camp training, he was a heavy plant operator lah. Civil defense with heavy plant. His father was the owner of the building of Hotel New World. So we mobilized him, not knowing that, the father was there. And he was there to help rescue the father with the, excavator and all that, So it's also a coincidence that, the son was doing in-camp training. And of course, the father died, with whoever lah. There are some other people he was with. and they had their funeral at the, very big bungalow lah. The father was a notorious, guy lah, correct 4D and all that, biggest in Singapore. So he got a bungalow at the, East Coast lah, So obviously, because the son was during in camp, I have to attend the funeral lah, compassionate ground. So
I
I
see.
have to wear uniform. So to my surprise, the funeral were attended by all kind of underground people. You can see lah. You can immediately see with all the tattoos and short pants and careless attitude and all that. And they were staring at me because why am I in uniform coming, to the funeral? Yeah, so these are the things which associate with the Hotel New World lah.
I see.
Apart from that, of course, during the week we have a lot of other stories on people rescue, on how we were treated. It was quite nice lah because even the hotel gave us hotel room there. Because we were literally resting along the corridor of that time Serangoon Plaza, Mustafa or what there. So they felt not fair lah. We do so hard work, and a lot of hotel bring food catering for us, free of charge. So the best was the hotel give us the room to stay, to bathe lah, and refresh. Yeah. So all these stories are expressing the Singaporean spirit lah. When this disaster happened, a lot of them come forward lah. Volunteer. There are a lot of volunteers, so yeah. But because we are mindful of their safety, so we restrict them also lah.
Just an off question, right? Was bomb disposal ever involved in the demolition of the HDB flats? The ones that we
No,
want, the
that
emergency
one
flats.
we can do it, but it's not
Oh.
our job because it's control
Okay.
explosion,
Yes.
which is a we learned that lah, how to make sure that the collapse is on the spot. So it's not a very difficult task because demolition you have now especially you have a circuit that are all like a closed circuit board like that. You can time it, which column to explode first. So it's exploding so that the building fall inward lah. Yeah. So it's not difficult. It's just as a structure, the weight and the volume and
Yeah.
also which member gave way and which one collapsed on it and all that. So we can do that. But ours is more, with hazard looking at you lah. Yeah. So we have to make safe and do the right approach.
So does HDB do those
No,
demolition?
actually we got contractor.
Right.
Some of the contractors are our ex-colleague lah. They went out, they commercialize and do it. Yeah. I still have friends who are doing it lah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Is it still being done these
control
days? It's no
Huh?
more being done already, right? To blow
No
up
more
the
lah.
HDB
No,
flats.
no more lah. Yeah, because now they can use heavy plant to knock down stage by stage. Because now the possibility of building are so near that they don't want like the dust and all that lah. Yeah. So use a machine is also efficient lah. Yeah, and all these are very expert plant operators.
Yes, I think I want to talk about Sentosa because it kind of coincide, right? Let me ask you then. When were you posted to Sentosa?
I was posted there in 1968 after my officer cadet course, because I was posted to combat engineers and they use that as a launching, site for the engineers training camp and the HQ of the combat engineers.
Where was the camp? What was the name of the camp?
It was Fort Siloso, yeah. It's on top of the highest mound in Sentosa. It was only 88 meters high. It's, I think, the third highest after Bukit Timah, Mount Faber, and then Fort Serapong. Yeah, Fort Serapong.
Sentosa in 1968. What did it look like?
It was basically vegetated throughout with kampongs and plantation. Yeah. So a lot would be like, cultivating pineapples,
Mm.
you know, and the coastline fishermen and all that. So it's quite unique because the kampong, they have Chinese villages at the jetty, and then you have Malay kampongs near the foothills of Sarapong, And of course, the attractive area are the southern beach, you know, where we can swim, and also there's a sailing club there. That's where most of the tourist attraction are now, lah, at the southern beach.
So, were there other SAF units on Sentosa?
Yeah, at that time, the Kukas were the last unit for the British. They
Okay.
left, you know, and then we have the naval site. This maritime command. That was the old command of RSN because they were displaced from Telok Air Basin,
Right.
because of development. So they landed up at Sentosa, Blakang Mati, and then with the engineers, these were the two units. And then they have buildings meant for some SF training, like manpower training. That was one building. That's about all.
The combat engineers, when you train, I mean, I might be wrong, but you would need some kind of like river crossing, that kind of training, right?
Yeah, mostly.
So where would you train on to
Yeah,
get that kind
the
of?
role of combat engineers is to
Mm,
facilitate trafficability of
yeah.
other units like infantry, armored, artillery. So to cross river, we use special,
Mm,
bridges, prefab bridges or floating bridges,
yeah.
and then of course to clear track which are maybe flooded, we use tractors, all the heavy plants lah, to make drainage and harden the surface, and also demolition work lah. A lot of
The, yeah.
demolition work, you know, for
Mm, mm.
breaching obstacles.
So
Mine warfare is another. Yeah.
does Sentosa have this kinds of terrain for you to do the training for combat
Yeah, it's a very
engineers?
good island
Yeah.
because there are, in fact, from jungle to plains to river,
Mm,
to the shoreline. So flotation training, rough, we can use a shoreline. Yeah. There are a lot of gaps, you know. We build a Bailey Bridge. Yeah. And a lot of
mm,
open area. We normally do our mine warfare, you know. We lay mines, simulated mines, lah, and
right, right.
fortification, lah. How to fortify positions.
Were there rivers? I don't know. Sentosa had
Not not
rivers.
not big rivers, but
Yeah.
semblance of it, lah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are very short, because we don't have rivers right from the hilltop down. There's no such
Right.
thing.
Mm,
Only stream trickle down. So
right.
this trickle to the beach, the semblance of a small little pond or something like that. So it's not
Mm,
rivers.
okay. So maybe you have to go to the mainland to do the river
No, we
training, is
don't
it?
do at the river.
Okay.
We can do at the shoreline
Okay.
flotation.
Okay. Okay.
But we have gaps. Gaps are for simulate rivers,
Mm,
like in the vegetated area, you have some embankment, so we build bridge across all this. Yeah, the foothill.
so when you were doing the training at Fort Siloso, did you ever visit the villages? Did the
Yeah,
men
we are
ever
very close to
visit?
villages. As I
Yeah.
mentioned, when we arrive at the jetty, that time no connection with the mainland.
Mm,
We come by bumboat. The bumboat are really operated by the villagers, from the Meixiang
mm,
province from China. So they are almost seafarers, and the settlement at the jetty area, of Blakang Mati. Then further in, we have the Malays villages
mm.
at the foothill of Mount Sarapong. This was, or this directly opposite Pulau Brani. where there was also a floating kind of still built village. So they are very close, like relatives and all that.
Mm.
So it's very scenic, and we often have to pass the village, and we make friends with them. Yeah, there's a coffee shop, and this is highly in demand because waiting for the ferry and the bumboat, we can take a drink and socialize.
Coffee shop was in the Chinese village.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
run by the Yo clan. Most of the Chinese at the jetty were from a certain village, Meixiang village, and they are surname Yo.
I read online that subsequently some of the Malays from Brani were also relocated to Blakang
Yeah,
Mati. Is that right?
they short distance, so it's
Mm.
not a problem because they actually transmit every day to and flow. Yeah, because as I said, they are like relatives. Most of them engage in fishing and all that.
Yeah. So subsequently, I think in the early 70s, we decided that we are not going to use Sentosa and rename Pulau Blakang Mati to Sentosa and develop it for tourism, right? So were you how long were you on Sentosa? Did you see
We
this
were
happening?
there. We were there in 68 to
Mm.
72.
Okay.
So relatively long time because most time we are on the island because of the training. Only weekends we might go back to the mainland, to the family. So we can explore the island, the shoreline, everywhere lah. If you are not leaving the island
Mm.
and become intimate with the island surrounding lah, which are scenic area, which are good fishing area, where all the leisure were the Palawan beach lah, just I mentioned.
Mm.
So we have a sailing club there. We can use a boat to sail to the southern islands, and also we have a riding or horse saddle club where horses can be taken out to ride around the island, all free of charge, because these were used or given to SAF, especially the turf club. Most of the horses were retired from the turf club and given to the saddle club. And the boats was actually something left behind by the British.
What was the condition of the camps, the British lab? Yeah, were quite good, I suppose.
Yeah, the
Mm.
firstly the architectural aspect
Mm.
is very good
Mm.
because it's very airy and also reinforced strong pillars, and the significant part is most of the buildings oriented north south, so you do not have the morning sun, afternoon sunset, and all that, but it faces the breeze from the northeast and southwest monsoon. You know,
Mm.
then of course
Nice. Yeah.
when it rains, you have to protect the room. So the British actually implemented lowers, windows, and doors.
Mm.
Lowers. It's not British, it's French. So they swallow their pride and they use that. Because if it's monsoon rain, you have to shut off all the windows and door because of our orientation. But this lowers allow cross ventilation, you know. So until today, though most of the building were aircon, but the Heritage Board maintained that the lowers must stay.
Mm.
So they actually renew all the lowers, door and window, just for decorative facade.
So by the time that you were going to leave in 72, was the redevelopment of Pulau Blakang Mati already taking place, or was that later?
PIA is shaping up very nicely.
Mm.
Yeah, because the SDC, Sentosa Development Corporation,
Mm.
were given certain direction by the PM, you know, like some key points, of achievement. So they were tasked to build the golf course. So the golf course was standard. Uh, they managed to engage consultants, famous golfer, Arnold Palmer and all that. And this was the first major project
Mm.
because the vision was you can attract, value add tourists and all that, the golf course. So of course it was a master plan. With a golf course, you must build hotel and all that. So the master plan was very dynamic, lah. Until today they are still upgrading with world class standards.
Mm.
Whatever lah, resort, hotel, restaurant. So that was deliberate lah.
Mm.
It's not something which just patchwork and all that. Because even the casino was deliberately designed around. I think LKY wasn't very keen on casino
Mm.
because it brings in money laundering and all that. So he was mindful, but he never stopped it. So slowly he managed to convince and get a casino going. It's not the first intention.
Yeah, originally we didn't want to do it, right? So when the tourism started to come on board, right, in the early 70s, how did you look at it at the time? Were you thinking this was quite necessary for Singapore's development?
I think it's very
Mm.
necessary
Mm.
because I remember we could clinch the Miss Universe contest. Yeah, partly because they both throw Sentosa as a paradise island. They had
Mm.
photo shoot on the beach, Palawan beach there. But to me, it's not very successful because the water was very calm and the sand was, you know, infested with barnacles and
Mm.
things like that lah. Because you're not a natural beach, you don't have the big surf to come and wash the beach, so it becomes stagnant. So you see the participants, well dressed and whatever, were very, you know, aware of the heat, the surrounding. But anyway, because of that, it pulled through lah and managed to secure the license. And at that time also, because they built the Sentosa satellite station, you know, they already have the landline around the world. So with that and the other one at Phuket Timah, they are very convinced that there's no interruption in broadcasting to America, live around the
Mm.
world. So with that kind of confidence, because of Sentosa, they launched the Miss Universe contest, which was
Mm.
a massive undertaking, worldwide,
Mm.
that time.
I do remember that now.
You remember, huh? Yeah.
Yes, yes. I mean, since I think when you retired, you have become a tour guide on Sentosa and very knowledgeable about its old buildings, right? What are some of the old buildings from that time that are still around?
There are a lot of old buildings,
Mm.
yeah, including now what I'm doing for Barracks Hotel.
Mm.
This was the building used by the engineers to house our operation unit and also recruits. NS for engineers first started there. So these are, as I say, architecture, wonders of the British law. They have different generation of building, different facade, and this constitute the, I think, the second generation. Then the third generation is taller, 3 stories and all that. Which also now is the Oasia Hotel. 3 stories. Yeah, there are a lot of nice buildings lah, like Capella, which was our officers' mess. Now it's a 6-star hotel or something like that with chalet built along the shoreline.
Mm.
Yeah, so the attraction is ever expanding lah. Yeah, there are a lot of new boutique hotels with a very charming standalone building.
What do you think are some of the unique old heritage places on Sentosa when you do your tours? What are some that you look forward to
Yeah, like the
telling the
building at
stories
Barracks,
about?
it
Mm.
was quite historic because that's where a lot of British minister or even defense chief visited. They
Mm.
have a photograph showing their visits and all that. So for the British, this is something very significant. Yeah. So they can recall how Sentosa was fortified with the fought at Fort Siloso, Ampere, Serapong, and Connaught, because Sentosa was ideally overlooking our Keppel Harbor.
Mm.
So to them, the first instinct for any invasion is to take over Keppel Harbor because it's a lifeline, as I said. Until today, we depend on it for entrepot trade, nothing else, because we got no resources. Same as the British. They have steamship, then later, more modern ships, and that require a lot of repair and refurbish.
Mm.
So along the coastline, we develop go down or dry docks. So because of 7 or 8 dry docks, Singapore is prosperous. And of course, the other consequence will be the resupply. When a ship berth here to repair, they need a lot of resupply. So livelihood, hinge on all these factors. And so these are the history we can tell that no, Singapore started with nothing. And because of Keppel Harbor, so strategic,
Mm.
it's a deep water harbor, duty free, that, it turned around the fortune.
Could you say something about the military heritage on Sentosa? The guns, the forts.
Yeah, the guns are still
Mm.
relevant because,
Mm.
especially in Fort Siloso, they developed very well to showcase how this gun will protect, the invasion from sea along Strait of Malacca into the port. But obviously, many thought the gun were facing the wrong direction because the Japanese came by land. But that's not actually the problem, you know, because this gun can surveil and turn to the land,
Yeah.
which they did, in some instances. But as I said, because they were using more armor piercing than shot uh, this fragmentation shell, which kill infantry soldiers. So that was a setback. Yeah. So the gun at that time was state of the art. Even in World War II, they upgraded the gun before World War II exactly. Yeah. And first instance, the gun were manned by Indian soldiers. You know, before the war. So same as the buildings, most of them occupied by Indian soldiers, like the barracks hotel, because they were treated like gun folders. They just load the ammunition into the barrel. So that is called gun folding. So not skillful. Then before World War II, they upgrade. That's why they built newer buildings. And this house the British and Australian soldiers. So that time they convert the gun into muzzle loading from the back. You open the back and push in. So more technically inclined. Yeah. So that was the transformation. The second range of gun is like 25 pounders, which still in parade now and all that. Yeah. First round were all the cast iron, barrel, very huge. Yeah. Very long range. Yeah. So that's the difference, yeah. And the Australian, they have a lot of attachment to the island because
Mm.
a lot of their foreparents came here and served. Yeah.